I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Finance and Governance Committee for July 12. And we'll have the roll call and post in the agenda.
Member Basua. Here. Member Tehran.
Here.
Chair Zaragoza.
Yes, I'm here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on July 5th, 2022.
Okay, let's go ahead and salute our flag and have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item is public, no, comments on public's not on the agenda. I don't have any. Do we have any call-ins?
We do not have any public speakers at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, then our next item is C1. This is a consent item. And this is from the clerk, approval of the minutes, that the Finance and Governance Committee approve the minutes of June 14th regular meeting as presented. Council members.
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
I will second.
Second, please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our next item is D1, reports. This is Human Resource Department. This is the Second Amendment to the Gallagher Benefit Service Agreement for recruitment, classification, and market study. And the recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommended the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the following. 1, a Second Amendment agreement number 9109-21HR with Gallagher Benefit Services related to classification and market study for an increase of $75,000 for a total contract not to exceed $150,000. And number 2, Second Amendment to Agreement number 9338-21HR with Gallagher Benefit Services for recruitment services for an increase of $100,000 for a total contract not to exceed $200,000. And this is a requirement, was under Measure M, was a pre-recorded item, and we have Steve Naval. If you have any questions, council members, any questions on this item? No questions. And then what I have here is this is a COP study. Steve, can you share a little bit of information on this COP study? Where are we on it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So one of the amendments on this contract was for basically Gallagher to assist us with the meet and confer that we're going through in order to implement the class and comp study.
Mm-hmm.
So where that sits right now is it's with the bargaining groups. We've pretty much completed our negotiations on that, and they're looking to move that forward now with ratification.
Okay, so we're almost done with that then.
Correct.
Okay, so we need a motion on this item. Okay, first by
Second.
okay. Please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, our next item, this is a Finance Department. This is approval of the Fourth Amendment citywide blanket purchase orders not to exceed NTE amount greater of $200,000 each. The recommendation is the Finance and Governance Committee recommends that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a blanket purchase order with Amazon Business, Granger, Office Depot, and Tri-County Office Furniture not to exceed amounts no greater than $200,000 each, utilizing competitive bid and awarded cooperative agreements for daily operations for a period from July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023. And again, this was under Measure M, a pre-recorded item. And we have Betsy George, if we have any questions.
Mayor, if I may, please.
Yes.
We do have our purchasing manager here, Jennifer Yates. She can answer questions. And I did want to say in the introduction, I think the recommendation is worded and the subject matter is worded a little awkwardly. I just want to clarify.
Okay,
What we are requesting is for Amazon Business to get a BPO for 300,000 for this year, fiscal year, for Granger for 250,000, Office Depot for 225,000, and Tri-County Office Furniture for 250,000 just for this fiscal year. Want to clarify that it's not that any one of these is limited at 200,000.
okay, so it's 250,000.
Well, there are different amounts. If you look at the staff report,
'Cause
Amazon,
I'm reading what you have here as a recommendation. That's not correct then.
it is correct technically speaking, but I think it is a little difficult to understand. What the recommendation says is they all exceed 200,000.
Ah, okay, okay.
They are all greater than a not to exceed of
to exceed.
200,000. And so I want to clarify the actual amounts that we're requesting for Amazon Business is 300,000. For Granger is 250,000. Office Depot is 225,000 and Tri-County Office Furniture is 250,000.
Okay, so are we all clear on that? Councilman Turan?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the clarification, Ms. Klima, on that. Looking at the staff report and this item, I understand this came to us for the previous fiscal year for a request to increase the blanket purchase order amount for Amazon Business. So I'm happy to see after that conversation that we've evaluated historical data on how much was actually being spent on these blanket POs and adjusted these accordingly. My question is, if we could just get, for the benefit of the public, a quick explanation on what a blanket purchase order is as a mechanism within finance and how we utilize that within the city of Oxnard.
Sure.
Okay.
So the definition of a blanket purchase order is really, it's an annual purchase order for routine recurring goods that can be used citywide. And what we ask for is a not to exceed amount for that fiscal year. It helps to allow us to get discount pricing. It saves in administrative time and paperwork from having to issue purchase orders for each item that you would like to purchase. Bulk buying is really the biggest thing of that. And also it's keeping it transparent on one purchase order for those that are being used by citywide. We have approximately 20 blanket purchase orders, but we have done research, as you'll see in the recording and staff report, for the last 3 years. And we've analyzed the last 3 years of spending as well as what we anticipate with, we're finding a lot of rising inflation, as well as supply demands and different things. And so we wanted to anticipate, and again, it's a not to exceed amount. It's not saying that we are going to spend that amount, but we're asking upfront to have the authorization and the authority by council to spend up to that amount.
And to add a little bit, that makes it easier for the departments to purchase.
It does.
okay,
It does.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the explanation. And it seems, as the mayor alluded to, it's actually an efficient way to go about doing these, what can be very routine purchases that we need in our day-to-day operations, correct?
Correct.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman, no?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make a motion to approve.
Yes, I will move the recommended action as clarified by Ms. Klima as well, just so we're all clear on that.
And
I will second.
Second by Councilman Basua. Please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. The next item 3 is City Manager Department. This is a third amendment to Creative Core Technologies Corporation 94312-1 FN ERP Management, Project Management, and the recommendation that the Finance Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a third amendment to the Professional Services Agreement with Creative Corp Technology Corporation 9431-21 FN in the amount not to exceed $1.7 million for a new not to exceed contract of $2.6 million, to the extent that the term as of December 31, 23 for project management services related to enterprise resource planning ERP implementation. And again, this was pre-recorded item. And we have Sherry Kleeman. Any
Thank
additional
you,
comments on that?
Mayor. I just wanted to introduce to you Andy, who is on the screen. He is our consultant. He is at Creative Core and he's our project manager. And I also wanted to introduce to you Mark Sewell, who is our one of our assistant CFOs in charge of this project in Core Financials. So they are very integral to this project, especially where it currently stands. And the three of us can hopefully answer all your questions.
Yeah. And my understanding that Mark, whoever wants to answer, or is it the question that I'm going to have right now to you? Anyway, my understanding is that this function integrates all the systems within the city, which I think is really, really going to expedite and kind of bring everybody together, for lack of a better word. Is that correct?
Correct, Mayor. There's a lot of advantages here. It'll bring all of the information together across different departments.
Mhm.
There will be more accuracy of information because you're not going to have
Duplication.
that's right, duplications, and therefore less chance for errors. It's much more efficient. There's a user interface side that a lot of our residents will find very helpful, that our developers will find helpful. And the list goes on. There's a lot of advantages to this ERP.
So basically, everybody's going to be on the same page.
Yes, that's
Think-
right.
Think.
And it will be a more modern page.
Beautiful. Councilman Tron.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just wanted to thank everybody who's been obviously putting a lot of time and effort into this initiative. It's difficult to describe just the undertaking this is and the lift this is for the city to shift to this system. I know it's alluded to in the presentation, the staff report, but would you mind just sharing briefly, any of our staff we have here, about the postponement of the launch for this that was identified in the staff report?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Turan. There are 5 phases to this ERP, and the first 2 phases are core financials and human capital management, which is you can think of it as the HR portion of the project. Both of these are immensely huge modules. The core financials portion we've been working on for 2 years. And when I say we, as you alluded to, Councilmember Turan, we're talking about many individuals around the organization. You've got Mark and Andy certainly that are doing this full time, but also a good portion of our finance department and individuals in all of the other departments that touch the finances of the city. Going live with core financials, we were supposed to go live in July, on July 1st, and I determined that we needed to postpone that for 3 months for a couple of reasons. First of all, when you go live at the new fiscal year, which we do start our new fiscal year July 1st, then there is the risk of missing one transaction and posting it to the wrong fiscal year, which creates an audit risk for us. If we go live in October, like we are now going to go live, the difference between posting to September 30th, October 5th, so forth, is not an audit risk because it's still within the same fiscal year. We knew that risk to be true 2 years ago when we began in this process, but we thought that we could do a cleaner break than we now know to be true. In the 2 years, we have learned so much about core financials, the Tyler system itself, and also about our financial transactions and how we take on these transactions, that now we understand this is a bigger risk than we then assessed. In terms of IT staffing, we have to keep in mind that the people who are implementing this process, who are actually keying in the transactions and moving things around, are our IT personnel. And our IT department right now is thin. We are bulking up. We are adding you added a lot of positions in the budget.
Right.
And then as these modules roll out, we need these IT personnel to maintain the modules. Otherwise, very quickly, they will become just as old and obsolete as the last version. So we are in the process of hiring IT personnel, and we needed them in the implementation. And if we had gone live, we wouldn't have had somebody to maintain. We would have continued to lean on our consultants to maintain these. Now, since we're still hiring, we are leaning on our consultants, but we're hoping to be in a better position in the fall, and we're actively recruiting. We were also missing some of our finance department personnel during the implementation. Most of them are on board. You just met, if you hadn't before, our excellent new purchasing manager. We have a new controller on board and other critical positions in the finance department that are really necessary for this process. And then finally, when we move core financials, because so much of the ERP team needs to be involved in every module, once we move core financials by 3 months, we felt it was best to also move HCM, the human capital management, from January to April to again allow the IT team, the project management team, and so forth to be able to transition from one module to the next. I want to say also, this shouldn't raise any red flags in a software implementation of 5 or 6 years. This is very typical to move the deadlines a little bit, to adjust the contracts a little bit. We need to have the flexibility and agility in this project to keep looking at new information and making better decisions.
Great. Thank you very much for that explanation. And when I was going through the report, I, in my head, likened it to, yeah, this brand new car, but maybe the brakes aren't quite ready yet, or you need to get it checked out first, right, before you go on a road trip with it. And so I appreciate you bringing those up and explaining them for the public, and being transparent about that. And as the mayor had said, and as you explained to us, this is going to be a huge improvement in efficiency and what we can do within the city and interconnectivity between departments. And so I'm really looking forward to this coming online, but I'm glad we're having the staff capacity there to be able to take it on, as well as the period to be able to test those things first. So thank you.
And let me add a little bit to that, Sherry. The training of the new employees that come in, is that, what does it take, a couple of months or so, or to get them?
Mayor, you mean the IT employees, or do you mean as new employees come into the city?
New employees, yes.
Well, we are currently training our entire staff, all of the staff across the city, on core financials. That starts in late July, and that will take about 2 months. And that is overwhelmingly the finance department and everybody around the city that touches financials. So it's going to be it's a huge lift to train all of them. Correct.
Yeah.
And then, as you correctly allude to, as we bring in new employees, we will have to continuously train and also refresh the information with our existing employees. It's a large lift, but it's incredibly important that our employees feel confident that they can do their current jobs at least as well as they did in the past ERP, but they are thrilled and they will do better on this new ERP.
But I think it's going to work out, because this way we're all like I said, everybody's on the same page, as opposed to different departments doing different software items and inventories and payments and et cetera, et cetera. And this way we're all on the same page. And it's good for audits too.
Yes, this is going to be a much cleaner system. It's going to allow us to double check our own work. A lot of the past, I don't attribute all the past financial issues to this, but some of the past financial issues are because, quite frankly, we can't pull out reporting. We can't review our own finances well. So this will be a good chance for us to be able to look at our own work, our own finances, and do some good analysis. Before an auditor catches it, we can clean up our own
Good
operations.
Good point. So, council members,
I will move the recommended action if we're done.
You're asking if there's more questions.
no,
I'll second.
okay. Got a first and a second. Please vote.
Mayor, may I please confirm that we have a motion by Councilmember Basul
And
and a
second by
second by
Councilman Tehran.
Councilmember Tehran?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Mhm.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item, this is City Manager Department. This is a subject obtaining a council member to volunteer to serve as a whistleblower hotline vetting. And also that the Finance Committee appoint one council member to serve as a whistleblower hotline vetting committee. And my understanding that we have a volunteer that asked me right off the bat, Mr. Tehran.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would be willing to volunteer if that's something that you'd be willing to let me take on.
And Council Basoa said she wanted to be the one down.
I need to interview you first.
Oh,
No, I will go ahead and make a recommendation that we appoint Councilmember Tehran.
And I'll second it.
Great.
Okay, now this is again, Mayor Clerk, first by Basoa, second by Zaragoza. Please vote.
This meeting's getting interesting.
Can you believe it? We want the city manager to be part of it, so. Thank you.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item number 5, this is Information Technology Department. And the subject is Infrastructure Investment, a Jobs Act grant application. And the recommendation, the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the city council adopt a resolution, authorizing a submittal of a grant application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for $500,000 grant funding, subject to the city matching funds through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act for the purpose of investing in cybersecurity technology system and throughout the city. And of course, number 2, that the city manager and chief information officer to execute all grant documents, applications, agreements, amendments, and requests for payments necessary to secure grant funds, and implement the approval of the grant project for the amount not to exceed $500,000 to the state of California cybersecurity grant. And 3, the chief financial officer to submit financial reports and grants, claims, and approve special budget appropriations for the use of grant funds. And 4th, that the chief financial information officer to submit the non-financial reports. And this again was a pre-recorded item. And there was a presentation video. We have Helen Miller, is Helen here today? I don't see.
So Mayor, Ms. Miller is out, the CIO is out, but we do have Gary Krubian, who's a programmer analyst in our IT department, and I can try to help as well.
Okay, Jerry, can you give some more information on this FEMA grant?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this IIJA measure is something that passed not too long ago. It's about $500 billion worth of funding that's available for states and counties and municipalities, of which approximately $1 billion, I believe, is set aside for cybersecurity funding. California is expected to receive about $40 million of that $1 billion. There's still quite a bit of ambiguity as to the program, but what we have asked the committee to do is to approve our application so that when the time comes, and sometime between now and a few weeks from now,
Be ready.
be ready for it. Because of the ambiguity, we just want to have the agility to just be ready to have that application in place so we don't miss out on it. We're asking for $500,000. We're not sure if we'll use the entire amount or not, but that's the amount that we're asking for. The program is good for 4 years, but if we use the funds in the first year, our match portion is only 10%. So that's a way for us to, extend the ability for the fund for the grant to give us the investment capabilities that we need.
So Jerry, I understand that it increases accordingly up to about 40% for the 4th year.
Each year it goes up 10%.
10%.
Yeah.
Okay, well, city manager, we have a question before we continue? No. I see it's blinking here. Councilman Sharon? You have a question to Jerry?
Yes. Thank you very much for the information on this. And just so that folks are clear on it, we're going to be requesting of the grantor, if it's the state or the federal government, we're going to be requesting about $500,000, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Up to the $500,000. Yeah.
Okay. And then the mayor had already alluded to matching funds being required on the part of the city, but it's starting at 10% and then increasing from there, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And so I appreciate this coming forward. There's certainly needs within many municipalities, and the city of Oxnard is one of those where anything we can do to bolster our cybersecurity stance or our posturing and all of these items that are listed here as the grant, what's eligibly spent with the grant funds, I certainly hope that we're able to get that. So thank you for bringing this forward. So,
Of course.
and I'm willing to make the motion on this.
Okay. Second, okay, first by Councilor Ron, second by Basua. Please vote. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, I think Sherry's really happy now that we're on item E. Council members, how about items for future agendas? Any items for future agendas for this? No, none?
Let's schedule council members to Ron's interview. Second.
Okay, so we have none, so we are adjourned. Thank you. And our next meeting is not till about 8:30, is that correct? Okey doke, so thank you. Very efficient. Thank you.